Hey everybody, we're about to update our Marvel Champions villains tier list up to Mojo Mania. So we're adding in Mutant Genesis, we're adding in Mojo Mania, and please like this video, please subscribe, and most of all, enjoy. Hey everybody and welcome to Marvel Champions Experience. And today we are going to be updating our villain tier rankings. Alright, I wanted to do this and update this list because some new villains have come out since I last made this video. We had Mutant Genesis and we had the Mojo Mania expansions, right? And aside from that, I've gotten better at the game. New cards have come out, which has changed my opinions on certain rankings. So here's how I've laid out the tiers. We have E for easy, D for deck testing, C for challenge, B for be ready, because those guys, the jump between C and B, I think is a little bit significant. We have A for almighty, like some of the hardest villains in the game, and S for straight up scary. Like those are the people you create decks just to beat them. All right, and just a reminder, I am doing this based on my personal difficulty against them, right? It's hard to make as an objective a case as possible because I can play a game 50 times, you can play a game 50 times against the same villain, and just our RNG, our luck of the draw, can change our opinions on them. So I'm doing this as objectively as possible based on just their set cards that they come with and the set modules that they're supposed to be played with. So be prepared to hate my rankings because that's what all good rankings are hated. No one likes any rankings, but here's what I got. I've tried to do this as best as possible. So in our easy tier, in our previous list, and I'll be changing these as we go. So we had Risky Business, Norman Osborn. We had Drang, Brotherhood of the Badoon. We had the Sinister Six. We had Rhino. We had Mysterio. We had Sandman. Sorry, we had Absorbing Man, and we had Sandman. Now, out of this list, I'm actually going to move up two of these to my deck testers, and that's going to be Absorbing Man and Sandman. They are easy, but they do provide a good amount of deck testing, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, you know, I have easy for Norman Osborn because you can stay in Alter Ego as long as you want. He won't beat you. You set up, and then you can just beat him real quick. Drang I have as an easy fight because with the Milano, it kind of makes the threat against the main scheme negligible. Pretty easy. Sinister Six I have as easy also because it's just a threat fight and their health is pretty low and you get a lot of benefit from beating them. Not too hard. Mysterio, there's nothing too special about this fight. It's kind of basic. I don't find any of his cards particularly scary. A little unmemorable as well. And Rhino is easy, you know. We've played Rhino for a long time, and he can be very swingy. He can beat you with his scheme if he gets an advance. But aside from that, it's just, you know, negate his damage. So I've moved up Absorbing Man and Sandman because I actually really do like testing against them a lot. Absorbing Man, especially with his environments, provide a little bit of unpredictability, and just he can hit hard, and it just kind of gets you to thinking a little differently about the fight, and it really pushes your deck to see if it's good. Sandman I like because testing against because he can burn through his encounter deck real quick, which would add, it'll add acceleration tokens. So he forces you to choose between exhausting your hero and attacking. So I really like that against him. And our old D tiers, we had Wrecking Crew, we had Ebony Maw, we had Crossbones, and we had Taskmaster. Out of this, I'm actually dropping down Wrecking Crew to easy. I had them in D before, but number one, I don't test decks against them. And when I thought they were hard, one of my buddies who I play with on a weekly basis finally got a chance to playing them and said, oh, they're actually exploitable and they're pretty easy. And he showed me like how to cheese them. And I don't really have an intention to play them again. I hate the fight. I find it very tedious to tear down and put back up. So they drop down. I will be keeping Ebony Maw, Crossbones, and Taskmaster here because I do find those three very good for deck testing. Okay, Ebony Maw has the spells, which kind of force you to push the fight along. Crossbones has all of his attachments and weapons, which force you to discard cards and really think about what you want to use and just make your hand smaller. And Taskmaster is just jack of all trades, just like he is, and he can come at you with schemes, he can come at you with weapons, he can come at you with a lot. So it really, these 5, I personally feel give a great test for your decks. So your E tier, I would always use for when I never touched a deck before, the pre-con, just to get my hands on the cards. Once I create my very own deck, I will go against the D tier, my D tier cards. All right, then we'll move up to the next set of challenging cards, in my opinion. So we have Kang. We had, what was this? The tower defense one. This one was Collector. I can't remember against the card. It's Collector Escape the Museum. Then we had Hela, and then we had Venom. So these are my challenging cards. And the reason why I have these 5 here, because remember, number one, also remember, I only play true solo, okay? That's something to keep in mind. Kang I find to be a very long fight, right? I did one test against it, and it took me over an hour. It was a fun fight, but it's a endurance fight, and you just have to be prepared for it. So it is, I do believe, a step up from your deck testers. The tower defense, it's definitely, I'm considering dropping it to D, but it is definitely better than the Wrecking Crew because you're fighting multiple villains, and definitely harder than the Sinister Six. There's just something about them that makes them a slight step up above, my D tier. If there was like a half a tier between those, that's probably where they go. But I don't like testing decks against them, and they are slightly harder than those 5. Collector Escape the Museum can be another longer fight. A lot of threat. Your thwarting needs to be really high for that fight. So I do find that a little bit of a challenge. Hela, she's exploitable. She's exploitable because you kind of can choose when you want to flip her. She has another long thwarting fight, but she's definitely harder than the D tier characters. And she's not as hard as the B tier characters, in my opinion, because she is exploitable. She is exploitable. So she does provide a little bit of a challenge. Venom, I'm definitely considering popping up for the Be Ready, but being able to use his bell tower against him makes him a little bit easier than the B tier characters. So these C tier characters, I'm not touching. I'm not moving them up. I'm not moving them down. I personally feel, in my opinion, that that's where they should stay slotted. Then we have our B tier characters, as in Be Ready. These ones provide a significant upgrade from the D tier characters, and they are in a tier of their own as compared to the C tier characters. So I had I had Collector Infiltrate the Museum. I had Claw. I had Ultron, and I had Red Skull. Now, I actually am going to drop down Claw to the challenging tier. I think I had him at the B tier for Be Ready because I had a good amount of bad luck against him. Okay. Claw isn't that hard. I find his hardest thing to be his Modular, the Masters of Evil. Those minions can be tough, honestly. But if you take them out pretty quick, he's actually not that bad. He's not that bad. He is a challenge. But I do believe that Ultron, Red Skull, and Infiltrate the Museum, I don't think is in the same tier with them. So I am dropping him down. Infiltrate the Museum is tough, right? You basically can't any cards that you lose from your display area go against you. So allies, upgrades, things like that. He just makes it very, very difficult to play against, and he can put things there by themselves. So he is pretty hard. Ultron, I think, is just a step above the rest because of his drones and his phase 2, which is just brutal, that he always gets drones out no matter what. And Red Skull provides a significant challenge with all of his side schemes. And if you don't have a thwart heavy deck that can also do damage, he's just going to overwhelm you. So I do believe those 3 should stay in the B tier, as in be ready for them. Be prepared. They are in a tier of their own as opposed to the C tier characters. Then we had A, as in Almighty. These guys are just hard. All right. and that is Mutagen Formula, the Hood, Nebula, Thanos, and Zola. Those characters are just hard. Okay, so the Mutagen Formula has a lot of minions that are really strong. The Goblin has a lot of like face down encounters he can give you. He's difficult. The Hood, by himself, he's not that bad. His special is annoying, and the fact that he gets so many random modulars, that's what makes him hard. You can't really prepare for him. It's very hard to build a deck against him, and he's just very RNG heavy. So that is why I have him so high. You cannot prepare for him. There's the variability in that fight is just so high, it makes him difficult. Nebula is hard. She's in the A tier because, especially when if she gets out of phase 1 of her main scheme, oh my god, she's brutal. The threat on that fight just ramps up so fast. You cannot catch up to it. You cannot catch up to it. And that first phase of her main scheme, it has like, I think it's like 6 threat. And it's, if you get one bad advance, if you get one bad flip into alter ego, the fight is difficulty ramps up tremendously. Thanos I have in the A tier mainly because of the Infinity Gauntlet and that he has Stalwart. You can't stun him, you can't confuse him, and the randomness of that Infinity Gauntlet with the gems makes him very, very tough. And if you get him if his main scheme flips to after phase 1 and you lose half your deck, it's close to game over. It's really close to game over. And Zola, I hate fighting Zola. I hate Zola's Retaliate. I hate Zola's minions. I hate that he gets a minion like every 2 minimum, sometimes like 2 to 3 turns he'll get an extra minion, and they're hard. So these 5, I'm not moving. I truly think that they're extremely difficult. The only one that I would consider moving down is the Hood. I need to play him some more though. I'm not ready yet to move the Hood down, nor move any of these down nor up. Then we have our S tier, our scary characters. These ones, you need to be prepared, and you almost need to make a deck to beat them specifically. That's Venom Goblin, that's Loki, and that's Ronin. Man, these guys are just terrifying. Venom Goblin, 3 main schemes, 3 different things. Like you have to watch 3 main schemes that have brutal consequences if you let their special pop off. He's hard by himself. One of his Goblin Glider, his like upgraded Goblin Glider, if he gets that, he can activate twice. It's basically game over. You basically can't beat him. He's just so hard. Loki, good God, I hate Loki. I actually think Loki's the hardest villain in the game. Yes, I think Loki's harder than Ronin. I think Loki's the hardest in the game because you can get random Lokis throughout the fight, and they have Stalwart, they have Steady, they have Retaliate. You don't know which one you're going to get. You can try to stun him, then his next 4 can come in with Steady or Stalwart, and you just lose that stun or confuse. He can get the Retaliate. Like, he's just so unpredictable, and he has the Infinity Gauntlet. It's those forms for me. Those forms make him super hard, and the fact that he has, the Stalwart. At least Ronin, you can take his Stalwart off because it's his weapon. Loki can just get it and stay with it. And Ronin, I think we all agree, for the most part, that Ronin is a scary character. He just hits so heavy. His side schemes are brutal. Yeah, his main scheme is brutal. If you don't take off that hammer right away, he's going to destroy you. I've lost to Ronin in 1 turn before. I've lost to him in 2 turns before. I can only beat him with a couple characters. So these 3 are not moving. They are top all, end all, be all, and they're really hard. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters to pop in. All right, let's start with Sabretooth. Sabretooth is not easy. He's not a deck tester. He's not almighty. I think he's going to be in the B or the C tier. I haven't lost to Sabretooth yet, But looking at these C tier characters who have some exploits, I don't see him there. I don't see Sabretooth as having an exploit. So I'm dropping into the B tier. The fact that he can heal, the fact that you have to watch out for Robert Kelly, I'm going to put him in the B tier. Then we have, this is Project Wide Awake. Project Wide Awake is not easy. Actually, it's not that difficult. It's not C tier hard. I don't think it's completely easy. I think Project Wide Awake can be dropped into the D tier. Yeah, that feels okay for me right now. I don't think Project Wide Awake is it's not as hard as Hela, in my opinion. And it's not as hard as Venom. And it's definitely not as easy as Rhino and the Sinister Six. I think this is a good spot currently for Project Wide Awake until I can play it some more. Master Mold, I'm sorry. I'm dropping this on the E tier. I find that fight very easy, especially with Magneto. You get a Magneto ally with that fight. That Magneto ally essentially makes Master Mold's minions negligible. I find that fight very easy. I don't find it difficult at all. Then we have, this is the Mansion Assault, the Brotherhood of the Mutants. I don't really think this is a deck tester fight. And I actually do find this fight pretty easy. I didn't have that much difficulty against that fight. I don't really think that Brotherhood are that tough. I think that's an easy fight. I know there's a couple of them, but I didn't find anything significantly difficult about them. I wouldn't like to test decks against them. I have Master Mold. The Project Wide Awake there because there's a lot of threat to deal with in that one and things to worry about. But the Brotherhood, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. All right, then we have Magneto. Yeah, Magneto's not easy. Magneto is not a deck tester, and he's not a challenge. He is going to be... He's harder than Sabretooth. He's harder than Red Skull. I do think he's harder. He's going to be A. I'm dropping Magneto into the A tier. He's got a lot of side schemes that he has to deal with. He has a lot of side schemes that he has to deal with. He's got a lot of use of the Sentinels, and some of his encounter cards can be pretty rough. He's got steady, he's got a tough. So, he's definitely harder than those B tier listings. Not S tier, but Magneto is a challenge. I've lost him a couple times, and I beat him a couple times, and he is a fun fight, but he is fairly difficult. All right, then we have our new three. We have Magog, Mojo, and Spiral. So Magog, I'm going to put into... He's not easy. He might be a deck tester. Magog might be a deck tester. Or a challenge. Let's see. He's not in the B tier. He's either C or D. Let's see. He's pretty strong. You don't really have to worry too much about... I'm going to drop him in the C tier for now. Yeah. I don't think I'd like to test a deck against him. But that feels right, actually. I wouldn't like to test a deck against Magog, but I don't want to test a deck against Magog, but when I'm ready to see if my deck is good, I'd like to try him. And I think the same thing goes for Spiral. I wouldn't like to test a deck against her, but when my deck is ready to be put to a challenge, she's someone I like to try. And then Mojo, I just fought him a couple times. He's harder than Magog and Spiral. Definitely not as hard as Magneto. I'm going to drop him in the B tier. And that feels right. Currently. You know, he is fairly weak. The environments that he get can help you as well. So that feels right. He's not as hard as Thanos. And I think he's definitely harder than the tier below him. This feels good for the new characters, I think. The one that's glaring to me though right now is this Project Wide Awake. Like, do I want to test a deck against Project Wide Awake? I think I do. I don't think I would mind testing against a deck against Project Wide Awake. Yeah, especially since you can get some allies in there because when you remove some of the side schemes. Yeah, that feels okay. That feels all right. I like this. I'm good with this new updated tier ranking. So let me know what you think. Please don't hate me. Please don't unsubscribe because of this. Okay. You know, this is just, you know, again, I say it again. I can play a character 50 times. You can play the same one 50 times and we can have different results based on what I've seen and true solo and just my style of play. This is where I'm seeing them fall. But let me know what you think. Let me know where you find certain villains. You know, if one of these is blatantly like this is the worst thing I've ever seen, let me know. I'm curious. Maybe I'm not seeing something. Maybe I'm making someone harder than they should be, or making someone easier than they should be because I'm missing a rule or something. But hope you enjoyed. Take care.